There was an interesting phrase that was said about the British lawyers and the legal authorities of the monarchies that had conquered or gone into what they called the New World, where they removed the people that were on the land who never claimed they owned the land. They believed they were birthed or began from the land in its existence, but they never believed that they owned it. And therefore, when they signed treaties with them, where the British government knew fully that the treaties that were being signed were not enforceable, because the very fact was that the tribes they were signing with were never recognized in the international law of nations, which was the law that dealt with all the world powers that would have conflict together. They knew they were never part of that. And so there was never a historical record of them being recognized as a tribe, just like the tribe of Israel and the tribe of Judah would have been no part of the world, because it was never deemed or assessed to be a world power. It was only something spoken of as a nation under the supreme law of God. So even the nation of Israel would have never been, under their tribal system, a world power. They were only a nation under the authority of their ultimate controller and their dictator, which would have been God, because he dictated the rules. And therefore, the Bible and what he gave them was their covenant. That is why the 1755 Samuel Johnson's dictionary that defines dealing with the word surname that leads to gentilicious name from the definition of Christian name in the same dictionary, defines that anybody who's of a Gentile background or bearing a gentilicious name is one of a uncovenanted nation, one who knows not the true God. So while you bear, sign, consent, take your picture, personify yourself in that, you have literally consented to be, even though inconveniently you may try to say, I've been forced to do this, but you have consented to actually act as one of an uncovenanted nation, one who knows not the true God. So your baptism really doesn't take effect when you're in that state, because you're doing duplicity. So it was very, very noted that the natives at the time signing treaties said that the British Empire spoke with forked tongue. All the representatives spoke in duplicity. You could never believe them, for they said one thing, but they really meant another. So they were leading them down definitely a path of doom. So the early native chiefs who signed these treaties with these British legal authorities were unaware. The fact was that the ones who were getting them to sign fully knew that these treaties would never actually be enforceable, because they were never recognized as such, and that's why the treaties were never actually adhered to. So you would know that anything that would allow a native of what is of the promised land of God, the meek shall inherit the earth, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. If they entered into an unholy covenant with the legal nations, acting upon their legal persona titles, and therefore acting in person for these things in order to gain benefits and privileges, would be committing treason against God. And therefore they would be receiving the rewards that come with doing such an act. So speaking with forked tongue would totally make sense for the legal pseudo-Christian registered faiths who have entered into the legal public registration system, believing that they are Christians when they are really pseudo-legal. in their direction. They are actually taking what it cannot be combined together. Truth and fiction are not combinable, they don't mix, but we can attempt to merge them, and we can attempt to serve two separate masters, God and the legal mammon, legal tender of identity system. So you're at the fork of the road that has been based on you being deceived by the forked tongue of the devil and his advocates. Which road will you take? Because you cannot do dual election. You cannot have both. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't blow hot and cold. You can't be a living body corporate and you cannot be a living man and a dead body corporate at the same time. So be careful. Just on that, I had to correct myself. Easy to make a mistake in that system because we've been so governed by it. But you cannot blow hot and colds. You cannot be living and be dead. And therefore, the mixture of the two together, even if it was attempted, would be lukewarm. And therefore, God will spit you out of his mouth according to Scripture. So be careful. Satan lies in wait. Those that are out to deceive will do the same. And even if they're not knowing they're deceiving, you still have to be on guard against false doctrine and basically people who may mean well. Some of them even believe that they're good persons. That's like being a good devil. It just doesn't work. So truth does not work in fiction. That's why it's at rest and at peace with God's Son. And we are here to preach the gospel message because the world system that you are seeing is soon to come to an ultimate conclusion by the hand of God. It won't be by you. It won't be by the governments. It will be by the hand of God and his judgment.